Hey there, welcome to Cocktail Mode, the podcast where me, Andy and my mate Dave pick a retro game and try and pair it with a cocktail. Today's game is Football Champ, aka Hat Trick Hero, and talking a lot about other football games too. Obviously there's some stuff about cocktails right at the end to go along with it. Do remember to drop us a comment if you've got anything to add or you think we've missed anything along the way. So with that, sit back and enjoy the latest episode of Cocktail Mode. What have you played? Did you say I put the ROMs in the thing? I never told you.
And I did play them. I thought Hat Trick Hero 2, was it on the SNES?
Yeah.
Was borderline unplayable.
I thought it was shit too, but
yeah,
I just thought...
I didn't get on with that in the slightest. I gave it about 5 minutes and just thought, fuck
It's completely different as well, isn't it?
Yeah. It's lost all the charm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just some football game, some cartoony football game.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really weird. I don't like to be prejudiced against things, but there's positive prejudice as well, because you go in, you're expecting Hat Trick Hero or whatever, and it's just not, is it? It doesn't play like it. It's not that it doesn't look like it, and it's not. It's in every single way, other than the name, it's not anything like it. International Superstar Soccer is more like Hat Trick Hero than Hat Trick Hero 2 on the SNES.
Well, that's one of the things I always thought International Superstar Soccer was. I remember the first time I ever played it around yours on the SNES, I thought, this is Football Champ.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah, the controls are obviously a little bit evolved from that, but that was like a 1990 arcade game. I'd expect the controls to evolve a bit from there.
Absolutely. You've got a controller with 6 buttons on it.
Exactly, yeah.
2 or 3.
But also the combinations of those buttons as well. So remember, you could set like your offensive and defensive strategies, like hold select and press a button or something.
Yeah, left
L1
and right on the things. Yeah, it was a proper game. You know, it took that arcade thing.
Didn't take us long to get off Football Champ and onto International Superstar Soccer, did it? I thought we'd last longer than 2 minutes.
We're going back. I went digging around. It's interesting that technically there are 6 Hat Trick Heroes or Football Champs. What are we calling it? Football Champ.
It's Football Champ to me because I played it when it was Football Champ in the arcades originally. So that's how I always remember it. Super Shot Soccer was the PS1 version.
But that's mad.
That was brilliant.
That is absolutely mental.
I was just watching the intro video. I was sat there thinking, what is this bullshit? This is nuts. But in a fun way. I thought, I can't wait to play this because this looks absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, there's so many super moves, and they happen so often.
Yeah, that was the thing I found. The computer opponents spam it.
Yeah.
Played a game against France, and the Eiffel Tower came up more times than their goalkeeper did.
And the incredible thing is, though, it looks and plays quite a lot like either of the 2 International Superstar Soccer Pro Evolutions that were on the PS1. It's a PS1 game. And it looks and plays like those. There's even picking your team and arranging it and doing all the formation stuff and all this in-depth football game stuff. And then you start playing and somebody will turn into a whirlwind and cover half the pitch. Someone else, as Dave just said, will summon the Eiffel Tower, which will electrify everyone in a 10-yard radius of it.
Including your own players, which I thought was a brilliant touch. I loved that.
Absolutely everybody. But yeah, other than that, it plays really well. And I think the problem I found with it, because I did enjoy playing it for a bit, and then I just got sick of that being like on the edge of this 18-yard box, about to fire off a beauty into the top right-hand corner and the Eiffel Tower coming and electrifying. Big Ben does it as well. I didn't play as many other teams, but
yeah,
they've gone heavy-handed on the super moves. They needed to make it a little bit, because you can pull off 3 off the bat.
Yeah,
it charges automatically. You don't even have to do anything, to just charges back over time. But other than that,
did you ever manage to score?
Yes, but only sort of spammy. And what it does carry over really well from the arcade Hat Trick Heroes is that thing. The speed of passing is what scores you goals. In the arcade games, if you kick a ball first time from one end of the pitch to the other, you'll be doing bicycle kicks and diving headers and all sorts, and that's that speed of movement that will score you a goal.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation version, what's it called again, Dave?
Super Shot Soccer.
Didn't come out in Europe, I don't think.
It was USA only, from what I can tell, which is bizarre when you think about it.
Really weird. not Japan, where it was probably made.
Yeah.
And not Europe, where football games are immensely popular. Just America in 1997, probably, top of my head.
2002.
Jesus.
I did come out in Japan.
2002 is the year the Dreamcast died, and there's a PlayStation 1 game coming out.
Yeah, bizarre. You got to think as well, ISS Pro Evolution, as it became, had been around for 4 or 5 years at that point.
In 98, Pro Evolution 2, which is the one I loved.
Who was this for?
Yeah.
You've got to think it was just sat around somewhere and they thought, should we publish it? Got nothing better to do. Everyone in the world has bought a PlayStation 2 by now.
Yeah.
I bet it's hard to find a physical copy.
Oh, I bet it is.
Oh, here we go. No. Released at the height of the 2002 World Cup.
Oh, okay. But was the 2002 World Cup in America or something?
Not yet. Japan.
Oh, okay.
Japan and Korea.
Well, I guess that kind of makes some sort of sense.
If you're going to release a football game, release it in World Cup year. That's fine.
Yeah.
But this was probably made about 3 years before that and never released.
So the original was in 91, wasn't it?
Original arcade version was 1990. Again, World Cup year.
Yeah, because there was 94 and 95 as well, I think.
Well, there was also 92. They brought out a version called European Football Champ.
Okay.
Which I do remember playing as well.
So I played, there's 3 in the arcade. Mm-hmm. And then there's the SNES one, which is rubbish, and the PlayStation one, which is bonkers. There are a few others dotting around, and I think they're arcade conversions. So there's probably really just 5 versions of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Eurochamp could make it sort of 5.5, 6.
Yeah.
And I played them all, and it was Hat-Trick Hero 94, the middle one.
Oh, okay.
Is it 94 or 93?
Hat-Trick Hero 93 and Hat-Trick Hero 95.
So the middle one of the arcades is the one that I remember playing the most.
Mm-hmm.
I've played a lot of the original recently, because I recently got it for the Evercade.
Yeah.
And it is coming to PC and other things soon. I assume it's releasing on the PSN and the Xbox Live Arcade, or whatever it's called these days. It's not called Xbox Live Arcade. It hasn't been for years, is it?
Game Pass.
That's it. I suspect it's coming to all those as well. It's a shame they didn't just why not do a trilogy?
Yeah, release all the versions.
Release all the arcade ones. Because I think the home console ones are a bit odd. And they feel very different. But if you play Football Champ and then Football Champ 2 and Football Champ 3, whatever we're calling them, don't really care. The arcade trilogy of games. If you play those feel like an evolution of the game, like you would like a trilogy to be. You would just expect that's what you're going to see. First one is there and it plays really well. I played that a lot, and obviously I played that in the past, but it was definitely the second one that I've played the most of. I went through the different versions on MAME and played them. It was the second one that I went, this is the one I remember playing the most.
Yeah.
As much as I've played a lot of Hat-Trick Hero 1 recently. But the third one, 95 or whatever it's called, is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really high-end in quality in the way it's been delivered. It's 3D and it's scaling, looks great, plays great. It's a brilliant, brilliant game. Sort of outside of the Football Champ Hat-Trick Hero umbrella. I think it's the second one that to me feels the most Football Champ, but the third one, having played it new for the first time recently, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
And it does a thing where you have your super move, you can basically buy it. So rather than the borderline impossible way you unlock it in the first game.
We'll come back to that.
We will come back to that. And the slightly less complicated way of unlocking the second game, this one you can literally put coins in and use it to buy a super move. It's like pay to win in the extreme.
It's microtransactions in the arcade.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Somehow there are other ways to get them as well, because I charged it up to 4 credits or something like that, and you start with 2. Probably scoring goals, winning games, I should imagine. Makes sense, doesn't it? You have a whole load you can select from with the super moves, but one of them, I think for 5 credits, is super goal, which is basically if it's 0-0 and you've got 5 seconds left, then you're going to win the game because they go in every time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? That came out, it said it's called 95, so I imagine it was released probably in 94. Because they're usually a year behind, aren't they?
Yeah, there's always been that thing in sports games, isn't there?
Yeah. God, it's so fucking confusing. It was called Taito Power Goal or Taito Cup Finals and Hat-Trick Hero 95. Yeah, it was released in 94. So that was basically a pay-to-win microtransaction in 1994.
I remember that next time you're complaining about a mobile game.
Oh, absolutely. Arcade games in general, we talked about this before. It's basically the whole thing is built around making money. It's not a new idea, is it?
One of the things I always come back to whenever I sort of talk about this sort of thing, there was a brilliant Dara Brian skit where he's talking about the unlockable content in Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
So he's quite a big gamer.
Yeah.
He's saying about playing Guitar Hero, sabotaged by the Beastie Boys. Oh, I love that song. I want to play that. Like, no, you have to unlock it. You have to play through the game to a certain point and unlock it. It's like, I'm an adult. I don't have time for this shit. Can't I just pay? And it's the opposite of what people want now, isn't it? Because where you buy a game and you get presented with a list of songs that you want to play. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, how do I unlock them? Wait, I pay? No, I don't want that.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, the two like viewpoints of that system. It's like some people, that's exactly what they want. I can't be asked to play the game. I'll pay an extra bit and just have it.
Yeah.
Or I am not ever going to pay for this song. I will unlock it through hundreds of hours of gameplay. I'm kind of on the fence between both. It depends on the game.
Yeah, I think that there is a kind of a caveat of quality there, isn't there? And it being the fact that you have the opportunity to unlock it at some way as well.
Yeah.
I think that's important to me.
It's the choice of you can either put time in and unlock it properly.
Yeah.
Or pay a small amount now.
Yeah.
Which, I'm fine with, depending on the game.
No, I don't have a problem with that as well. You think all of the extra liveries and all the stuff for Ace Combat, we talked about last time, if you've got the Steam version of the newest game, there are billions of skins and things, and you can't unlock them. You have to buy them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a skin. It's horse armor. I mean, who gives a shit? But,
well, that's the thing. If it's a cosmetic and it makes no gameplay difference, then, fine. I just won't buy it. But if I really want it, it's nice to know that I can, and it's only £1 or £2.
Absolutely.
Something like that. If they're not taking the piss.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen a game called War Thunder?
Oh. Do you know that's such a fucking generic name? I may have done.
It's a massive online thing. It's free to play.
Right.
But it's riddled with microtransactions and very, very slow unlocks of vehicles and game modes and things. And the prices of stuff is fucking horrific.
Yeah.
Like you start playing it and after a little while you think, oh, this is good, but I'd really want to fly a Spitfire. So you start to look down the tech tree and like, oh, okay, yeah, that's going to take me probably about a day worth of playing to unlock that. Or you could just buy it for like £5. Right. Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
But then you start looking down the list of premium planes and vehicles and it is every vehicle under the sun. You start looking down the list and you start thinking, that's an F14, it's £30.
Fucking hell.
And I just looked at it and I thought, no way. Who spends their money on this?
There's a term came out of the mobile industry where they call whales.
Yes, yeah.
Dave's obviously heard of it. If anyone out there listening hasn't heard of a whale, it's basically if you've got a very tiny number, like in single, maybe double figures, players who have got basically somehow limitless funds who are playing and hooked on your game, you don't really have to worry about anybody else.
You only have to satisfy them because they will buy whatever you sell. You
just keep putting out. And I come across it. I play Marvel Snap. There are clearly people who spend an absolute fortune on this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to play Hearthstone.
Yes. Same developer.
Yeah. Whenever there was a big expansion for that, I would pay, I think it was about £80, and you'd get a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, the playtime I get out of this, I'm happy to spend that.
Yeah.
Because if I think of like terms of like hour per pound of entertainment, which is how I look at a lot of games. If I spent £20 in a game and I've got 20 hours out of it, that's cost me £1 per hour. There is no other form of entertainment that is that efficient.
Yeah.
How much you spend on a cinema ticket these days?
Well, it's not a cinema ticket. It's just the beginning, isn't it? Because you go to the cinema and fucking wife wants to buy popcorn and.
which is not cheap.
No, it's part of that experience that they're trying to create, and that's what the cinema has lost a lot over the last few years. I mean, COVID obviously fucked it over. Home cinema and things coming so quickly out on Netflix and others has really fucked them over. It's the experience of going to the cinema, which is the reason you go to the cinema. And I don't think they make the best of it. I go to some small independent cinemas and they tend to. It's always a nice environment, and they always make things. The one I go to in Lewis, next town over, has got a bar in it, which is awesome, and you can take the beer in. Yeah. And I think that's where they've gone wrong. Just the idea of a multiplex makes every cinema exactly the same. I don't know whether it's the law or whatever it is that means that they can't fucking throw people out who are being dicks. Because they just don't. They don't even talk to them. They don't care. They just don't give a shit. My father-in-law's got a 75-inch TV and $6,000 of sound system, so I'd rather go around his house.
Fucking hell. What's the address? It'd be cheaper and easier to go to his house than go to the cinema in Leicester.
Should probably explain this super shoot thing. If you meet a certain set of criteria in the game, you pull off an unstoppable super shot. And the criteria are restrictive.
I would say set in stone.
Yes.
There is no other way to trigger it.
At the beginning of the game, you choose your team captain, who will be in a position on the pitch. And then you have to be either drawing.
No. It has to be, you either need to be behind.
Yes.
Or it needs to be a score draw.
Yes.
So it can't be 0-0.
Okay. So there you go. And
it has to be within the last 30 seconds of the game.
You have to pass to your team captain, who has to be in a particular part of the pitch. Mm-hmm. Can't be anywhere. You got to find him there. So in the last 30 seconds, during a score draw or you being beaten, you then have to find him. And as soon as you pass the ball, if it's going to him and all these criteria have been met, it unleashes the super shot, which is just a massively powerful shot. That if the keeper does save, it pushes him back through the net.
I've only seen one version of it, actually I've seen two versions, but both had the same result. So one was effectively like a huge, bizarre somersault.
Yeah.
And one was like an amazing side-on scissor kick. But they both did the same thing. They both powered it into the keeper, pushed him through the goal, through the net, through the advertising hoarding behind it, and into the crowd, which I thought was brilliant. The special ability move. I've been playing this game since 1990.
Super shoot.
Whatever.
Super shoot. Super shoot.
Yeah. I've been playing this game since 1990. And when we spoke about this recently, you mentioned it. I've never seen it.
Really?
I've been playing this game for over 30 years. I had never once seen it happen, ever. I didn't even know it was in the game until you told me about it. I was like, well, I've got to find out now. So I engineered a match where I got 2-0 up in like the first 20 seconds, scored 2 own goals to bring it even, and then dicked around trying to get the super shoot to trigger. And when I eventually figured it out, I was like, oh my God, how have I never seen that before? Do you know why I've never seen it before? Because I never lose. And I never draw. When I play a game of Football Champ, I start, your first couple of games, always France and Spain. Different order sometimes, but it's always France and Spain. I win those games 6 or 7-0 because they're just so easy. The game only starts to become challenging for me once it gets to about 5th match.
Yeah?
Yeah, the formula's there and it's so easy to exploit and just play around with.
I've been playing it on the other occasion. I've only got to the 5th match, probably once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so talk me through. What is the formula for scoring goals on Football Champ?
The formula for scoring goals on Football Champ is to never, ever, ever, ever set foot inside the 18-yard box.
Right.
The goalkeeper will punch you in the face and take the ball off you. The formula for scoring goals in Football Champ is to get it on the wing like in real life, which nobody in the current generation of England coaches seems to fucking realise. But again, we'll come back to that. Get it on the wing, run it down the wing, get to about level with the edge of the 18-yard box, send in a lovely floated cross, and then do a bicycle kick into one of the corners. But the thing is, I've known about that since the original game in the arcade. So it's always been there.
So you've finished it, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't yet.
Many, many times. Exclusively as well. You remember what I was saying about Golden Axe?
Yeah.
I've only ever played as the dwarf in Golden Axe. Every single game in Football Champ I have ever played, I've been England. Never played as anybody else.
Well, it makes no difference at all, does it?
It changes nothing.
No, except the kit, obviously.
Yeah, the colour of the kit and your manager.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've always really enjoyed in it. The animations of the characters.
Yeah, when it pops up.
The managers are great. I love them. Well, the thing I love is when you get to the end of a game and you draw or you lose it. And you've got the ref sitting there with his stopwatch, counting down 10 seconds. And if you put in another credit and you press the button, he just clicks the button and smiles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's play it again. I think the ref does deserve a special mention in Football Champ because it's such a brilliant mechanic.
Yes.
So for the uninitiated in Football Champ, you've got two modes of defending when you're not on the ball. You have a sliding tackle, which takes away the ball fairly from an opposing player, or you've got the other button, which is either one of three things. Punch them in the face, jumping knee them in the face, or if you're behind them and running after them, grab them by the shirt and pull them over. So we call that Italian mode.
Other cheating football teams are available.
If you're out there, Mr. Chiellini, and you'd care to leave a comment, that'd be lovely. But yeah, if the ref, which is an actual sprite, an actual character on the pitch, is far enough away from what you're doing, he doesn't see it. He doesn't respond. He doesn't do anything. You get away with it. You can literally punch 3 players in the face in a row as long as the ref's not on the screen. And
you can also tackle the ref as well, can't you?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you can either kick the ball at him, which will hit him and knock him over, or you can, if you do one of the various foul moves, you can knock him over and then do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Which I thought was brilliant. That's never been done before, or I think since.
No, it comes back. No, I think we mentioned Fair Means and Foul, the old boxing game, in a previous episode, which is a similar idea where the ref is there in the boxing match. And the ref is a brilliant mechanic. He's, having played Sunday League football, he's like a Sunday League football ref.
What do you mean? He's a larger gentleman who can't keep up with the pace of the game.
Big fat ball bloke. But yeah, it is a great mechanic, and in the sequels, that mechanic remains. It's sort of the key mechanic of the game. And I think it's the second one. You literally can rugby tackle people if you're chasing after them. You can basically dive for their ankles and pull them over, which is great. And as I say, if the referee's not on the screen, fair play, crack on. Other than Fair Means or Foul, I can't think of any other game that does that.
It's a very rare thing.
Do you know of any football games that allow you to dive?
Oh, yes. Oh, fuck, what was it?
I have learnt through my Googling that there is a game that allows dives.
There is? What's it called?
It's from a series you may or may not have heard of. It's called This Is Football 2.
That sounds familiar.
So This Is Football 2002, the sequel.
Yes. I knew there was one. I didn't realise that's why it was so familiar. When you say most blank football game in the world,
yes,
and don't use the word best or loved or anything other than the words fucking awful, you miss out This Is Soccer. This Is Soccer was, I think, if I remember right, it was an in-house Sony attempt to make a football game.
Right.
And it was fucking awful. I used to know somebody who worked for Sony at the time when this was made, and his exact quote at the time was, "It's a steaming pile of shit, don't buy it." So, oh wow, good recommendation then. Yep, it's fucking dreadful.
Have you played it?
I did. I got a promo copy from said mate who worked at Sony. It was fucking awful.
This is Football 2002 allowed deliberate dives and two-footed tackles.
God.
That is the full extent of everything I know about it, other than the fact that there is a really bad picture of Rio Ferdinand on the cover in a generic football top, not a non-branded generic football top that looks about 5 sizes too big for him, which by 2002 was no longer the fashion. It was definitely
I was watching one of the flashback to the Euro 96 stuff the other day while the football was on. Oh my god, everybody in the 90s wore clothes 9 sizes too big for them. That was fashion.
I have a 1998 Nottingham Forest football top that still fits me. That's how baggy clothes were in 1998. That's ridiculous.
Do you remember I had a game on the PlayStation called Soccer 97 that was the sequel to Olympic Soccer?
Oh, no.
It had the really weirdly over-exaggerated swerve mechanic. I
remember that in Olympic Soccer.
Yeah. Because I think didn't you have Olympic Soccer, or we had a demo of Olympic Soccer?
No,
and
I had and potentially still have Olympic Soccer. I have 99% of my PlayStation games I ever owned. But Olympic Soccer was sort of weirdly primitive, wasn't it? The characters were
very basic,
like incredibly basic.
Yeah, Soccer 97 was an attempt to make it more, dread to say, streamlined, a bit more fleshed out. So it had commentary from Alan Green.
Oh, okay.
And I can remember playing it, and basically any time you tackled anyone, there was one piece of commentary, which was, it looked like you took the man, not the ball. And that was it. That was the one piece of commentary for any time you tackled anybody. And I remember my dad walking through the room and just going, does he ever say anything else? It's like, actually, no, I don't think he does.
Which brings us very roundly back to Football Champ and, oh, fine play! Which I think is the only other commentary other than goal. It's quite interesting, the third one, in that as you sort of go through the game, you unlock things. Like after 3 games, I think it's 3 games, you can change your kit colour.
Oh yeah, I read that.
And then after another 3 games, I think you can change the name. Right. And these sort of things happen as you go on. So it's quite, considering it's only 94, it's quite in-depth for an arcade game, isn't it?
That's a very odd choice for an arcade game.
Yeah.
Well. There's very little you get from that. There's a rollerball version of golf.
Yeah.
Called Golden Tee.
Yeah, always saw that.
And that saves amazing shots. And unless it's got something like that, where it would save your team colours, your name, as like a high score thing or a replay thing, which is possible, but I don't know if it would have had it or not.
Brings me on to Virtua Striker. What was it called on the Dreamcast?
Virtua Striker 2 2000.1.
That's it. The actual fuck.
The word is pithy.
But that saved your goals, didn't it? And that was a really cool thing. And being the Dreamcast, you could save them to your memory card. Yeah,
it became your replays.
Yeah, which is really cool. And you could also, on the Dreamcast network, that whole chat room situation they had going on, you could upload them on there and share them with people. Do you remember you'd get points for your goals?
Yes.
And the criteria were, I don't know, obfuscated? I have no idea what they were. The highest score I ever saw was 400 and something that somebody got, and their shot came off bar and post and into the back of the net. And it wasn't a particularly amazing goal other than that, so I think that must have something to do with the criteria.
It's like when you play games like sort of the Olympics games that have an artistic thing, like gymnastics. How does it reach that score it's given me?
Yeah. Surfing on California Games is like that.
Yeah.
It's just done 72 bloody spins off the top of this wave and you've scored me 7.6. What the hell do I have to do? The criteria for whatever points you got on Virtua Striker 2 2000.1 on the Dreamcast.
I remember liking it. I do remember liking Virtua Striker 2 2000.1. As it has to be called every time you say it. Yeah, I'm just surprised and a little bit disappointed they never made anything more of it.
A sequel, Virtua Striker 3, was released in 2001.
Is that it? Just Virtua Striker 3? Well, that's rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, what are they thinking?
Virtua Striker 3 2049.
There's apparently a Virtua Striker 4 as well as a Virtua Striker 3.
Really? What was that on?
Arcade, by the looks of it.
Oh, okay.
So that came out in 2004, and then to appease you, they did Virtua Striker 4 version 2006, which came out in 2006.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I didn't realise that. But yeah, 2 on the Dreamcast. It was a Dreamcast launch game, I think, wasn't it? And it was just seemed really difficult. I just remember it being really hard to score and win.
I think the thing there is it wasn't a very good game.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Because like we said before, by then you'd had like 4 or 5 versions of ISS Pro, and Pro Evolution was really starting to take off. FIFA had been around for like 6-7 years at that point. So that was starting to take the people who liked that away.
So I think FIFA 96 was the first one, wasn't it?
94.
Yes, on
Mega Drive and SNES.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And it just...
Which was weird. Have you ever played it? Have you ever played the original version of FIFA?
No.
It's isometric.
Is it?
You play diagonally.
Oh, wow.
It's so weird.
Wasn't ISS on the SNES that as well?
No. ISS on SNES was left to right.
No, the reason I'm thinking that ISS on the SNES was like that is because the pitch is kind of isometric, but you play left to right.
Oh, yeah. It's sort of at one end, you can see the open goal, and the other end. Yeah. Yeah, it's like is it a rhombus?
Very good, yes. Or parallelogram.
Yes. Parallelogram, that's it, yeah. That's a word I've not used for 40 years.
I think if I remember my GCSE or pre-GCSE, a rhombus is a square parallelogram.
Oh, yeah.
I played a few football games.
1 or 2.
The first football game I can remember playing was a text game called FA Cup on the Spectrum.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it was basically the scores came up on the screen, and with text saying the midfielder passes, shot, save, that sort of thing. And you could change stuff to make it happen. And I'm pretty sure that was just called FA Cup.
I think I might have had that on the Amstrad.
Yeah?
I had a game which I have always thought was called FA Cup Manager, but might have just been FA Cup. You would do your game, and like you say, it'd come up with text for your game. But then you'd get the results of all the other games would come in. And it was very much like the Saturday afternoon grandstand final score, wherever it was.
Hi, kids. There was a game called International Soccer, which was for the Commodore 64, but it was on a cartridge.
Oh, okay.
Very simple game, which I think was 6-a-side, borderline Atari 2600 graphics. They were that basic.
Yeah.
But I played a lot of that as well. And then I don't think I really played a football game until Sensible Soccer on the SNES.
I had quite a few on the Amstrad, and I got some really, really fond memories of them as well. There was one called Footballer of the Year, which was like a life sim for a footballer. Very strange. You do things like you basically earn cards to use as attempts to score goals in a game.
Right.
So there is a small amount of actual playing football, and it is a very small amount. You literally get the ball, there's the goal, move left and right and sort of shoot and try and score. But outside of that, you have to manage your money. And the best way to get more money is to go to the races and bet on horses. I'm not fucking lying. This is what this game was like. You can go to casinos and bet money on that. There's like newspapers will print stories about you and stuff. It's such a weird game.
Oh, wow.
The other one I had was, I think it was Kickoff 2.
I remember the kickoffs being big.
Yeah, but it wasn't like arcade kickoff.
Right.
Because Kickoff in the arcade was the top-down one with the trackball that you would break your wrist playing.
That's got lots of names as well.
Yeah, Tecmo World Cup, I think, is the original for that. But the version of Kickoff or Kickoff 2, whatever it was that I had on the Amstrad, was brilliant. It was side-on, like your traditional, what you now think of as a football game should look like.
Yeah.
Can vividly remember the best goal I ever scored on it was like a ball coming in over the shoulder of somebody and jumping and doing like a flying volley to get it and kick it, and it went in over the keeper. To this day, I can remember doing that. It's brilliant. But that was quite a competent side-on proper football game.
Yeah.
On the Amstrad. Yeah. And then, as you were about to say, Sensible Soccer happened.
Yes.
Which revolutionised football games for quite a while.
I, for probably years, certainly a long time, was playing the bastard red-headed stepchild version of Sensible Soccer without even realising it. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember you coming around to my house and seeing Sensible Soccer running on the SNES and going, what the fuck's wrong with that? Because it plays really, really slowly on the
SNES version was awful.
Yeah, and I had no idea. This was, and I knew nothing about it. This was just a game that I have no idea where I got it from. I don't know how I came about owning it. Bizarrely slow when you play it now. I haven't played all of those games. Sensible World of Soccer being obviously the pinnacle, and is still kept up to date to this day. Yeah,
I think that's brilliant.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, no, fair play to them. Can't remember what it's called. SWOS United, it's called.
There you go.
You'll find it at sensiblesoccer.de. It is run by the Germans. So I think Sensible Soccer, wasn't there sort of three officials? Sensible Soccer 98, and Sensible World of Soccer.
Well, there's sort of offshoots and side versions. I had the Mega Drive version, which was Sensible Soccer International.
Okay.
Came out in 92 for the Euros. Very much international teams. It was when the naming thing, Sensible Soccer started the whole naming thing of not having quite the right names of characters because they didn't want to pay for a license.
Yeah.
And because back in those days, you had to license club names, but you didn't have to license international names. So we'll make people like Ian Wright, Owen Wrote. It's how you end up with Rowan Goggs.
Which ISS did as well, didn't it?
I've never gone back and looked at it, but I do wonder if there is some sort of legal case at some point where somebody said, oh, you've used our names, you can't do that. And they went, well, what if we change the names? Haha, fuck you.
The Sensible Soccer games were released on everything.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
There is even, you'll be delighted to hear, a Game Boy version.
Which is probably pretty good.
Sensible Soccer 92. There was a Game Gear version as well. Good gravy.
Wow. I'd be interested to see how they actually play, because the original Amiga version is very, very fast.
Yeah.
And very, very difficult. The Mega Drive version was a very good conversion and kept a lot of what made that good, what made that fun. The SNES version didn't even try.
Everything about it was identical except the speed it played at, which was glacial.
Which was a very important part. That was part of the format. That was part of the whole reason it was seen as a good, fun game to play. I think its biggest mechanic that attracted people to it was the curve and swerve you could put on the ball. Because that's been done since very well in other games. Yeah. But until then, I don't think was a thing.
I don't remember seeing it in anything.
And especially with being top down, it was very apparent. There was and is an attempt to make Sensible Soccer sort of within the last few years. There was a game came out called Sociable Soccer.
Oh, yes.
By the original developers of Sensible Soccer.
Oh, right.
Didn't do particularly well, but I just had a quick Google, and there is a Sociable Soccer 24 that came out last year on Steam. And the idea of that is that it's like supposed to be a fun, play-at-home, competitive, sort of one-on-one type thing, but with the speed of Sensible Soccer.
Well, I don't know, because it's tried to come back a couple of times. I think there was Sensible Soccer 2006 or something like that, which was a bit shit. if I remember right. And it's sort of been around. It's never really gone away. It's the glory days are way behind it. And you say this German website keeping the original alive is probably, I would imagine, the best way to play it. Although I imagine there are some people on there who are super, super competitive and very, very good at the game.
I guarantee there are people playing it now that have been playing it since the day it came out on the Amiga that you will never score past. And will score past you in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
But no, Sociable Soccer 24 looks great fun.
Yeah.
You can play it either sort of the typical 3D mode that you used to see in Pro Evolution in, or you can play it in the original top-down Sensible Soccer mode.
Oh, cool. There was, I think I've mentioned before, and I can't think what the context might have been, but there was a game on the, I think it was the Game Boy Advance, might have been the Game Boy Color, called David O'Leary's Soccer. Because of all the people.
David O'Dreary.
For those not in the know, David O'Leary came to fame as a man who took leads beyond their means, really, in was it the Premiership or the Championship? And so was briefly seen as a very sort of accomplished manager and was courted by the likes of Arsenal and teams like that. And then
he was Irish, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Leary?
Disappeared off the face of the earth. And it turned out to be, some sort of fluke of chance and luck and whatever he was doing.
Like Avram Grant.
Yes. But yeah, they did a game called, it's probably called something else in other territories, I would imagine. That's normally how these things work. But yeah, David O'Leary's Football Manager or Soccer, something or other. But it was a really good sort of player-manager game. So you played the games and did the management side as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a sort of subgenre of this, isn't it?
Yeah. But David O'Leary's, or whatever it was called elsewhere.
O'Leary Manager 2000. There
you go. Was when the games played, when you played them top down, so it was quite a lot like Sensible Soccer, obviously slower, a bit more deliberate. But it was quite sort of, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot. Decent segue into management games, which we should touch on with me going, never really played them.
I was going to say that needs to be a very brief touch on because I'll spend the next 4 years talking about Football Manager.
There was a one on the PlayStation.
Premier Manager, LMA Manager.
LMA Manager.
Yeah, I had both of them.
I played a bit of LMA.
I remember there was a challenge mode in LMA. I think LMA 98, where you'd pick a third division team, and I just picked Hull. And the idea was you had to get them to the Premiership.
Right.
And that was it. That was sort of your goal for the game. But ever since doing that, I became sort of a pseudo fan of Hull. So when they got to the Premiership a few years ago, I was really excited. And then they got to the FA Cup final against Arsenal. I was really excited. And they went 2-0 up. I thought, oh, Hull are going to win the FA Cup. This is literally my dream from like 20 years ago. And lost 3-2.
Did you ever play Libero Grande?
I did play Libero Grande. I never really got into it.
It's fucking hard. That's why.
Yes, I remember. Don't think it did particularly well, did it?
No, I don't. I mean, it obviously did enough to get a sequel, but I don't think that means a lot. I think PlayStation games are probably quite cheap to make. I don't think you have to be hugely successful. If anyone listening hasn't played Libero Grande, is that a precursor to that? What is that mode called?
My Career.
My Career. So basically,
career mode.
Those modes where you play one player on the pitch and you can't flick between them like you can with traditional football games. It was a precursor to that, so it was an arcade-style football game, but you only controlled one player, ostensibly, because you could call for passes and call for other players to shoot as well. But it was down at pitch level, so you're sort of behind the player as well, and it's quite...
It was sort of oddly third person, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically got almost Street Fighter-like moves, like you could do step-overs and things by pressing combinations of buttons. Quite in-depth and really good fun, and just nothing else quite like it.
There is very little like it. Even the single-player career modes that we're just talking about don't recreate that experience.
No.
Looking back at it now, it was probably I would say the second game to do that. Football of the Year on the Amstrad being the first one. Because that's exactly what that was. You controlled a single player and you had, at some point, some ability to shoot and maybe score.
I don't believe that Footballer of the Year on the Amstrad was anything like Libero Grande.
Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Graphics are spot on perfect.
International Superstar Soccer Pro Evolution 2 is the greatest football game ever made. And these games introduced the Master League.
Ah, yes.
The single greatest thing in video game history, which is basically manager light. You won points, you paid points for players. Easy as that. No dicking around. And
just to stop you for a second, mate. International Superstar Soccer Pro Evolution, blah, 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 blah. It's Winning 11.
That's the Japanese
original
name.
Japanese name is Winning 11. Is that not so much easier to say?
No.
Why don't we just stick with that?
Because I like to say International Superstar Soccer Pro Evolution 2. Hyper Mega version.
But Winning 11 is the original name, and we're all about the original name on this podcast.
Shut up. I don't want to rant, but I'd say the best video. Obviously, I mean my favourite. I occasionally still play this game to this day. Master League, you start with a team of nobodies.
Yeah. I've played the game.
The more you win, the more points you get. The more points you get, the more you can buy sort of other players. And there's no negotiation. There's no Ronaldo wouldn't go and play for a second division British team. It's I've got 50 points. I'm buying fucking Ronaldo. That's it. And I'm talking about Brazilian Ronaldo, by the way, because this is a game.
Yeah. Before Cristiano existed.
Just a great game. And that Master League, I used to play seasons unbeaten on Master League. Just play it over and over and over again. Absolutely loved it. But yeah, that's from, back all the way back to FA Cup on the Spectrum, all the way forward to when did I stop playing football games? I guess played a little bit of one of the FIFAs on the 360. I also played the revival of FIFA Street that came out on the 360, which was quite good fun actually. Worked quite well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in all that time, ISS Pro Evo 2 to give it a shortened version. I love it, and I'll still go back and play it now and absolutely love it. I just think it's that perfect level for me personally before it started to get too realistic.
Just really interesting listening to you talk about ISS Pro from way back then. I think the trajectory of people who played football computer games in sort of the 90s, they're now kind of the people who are going into football manager games.
Yes.
It mirrors the real world career of footballers. You get to a point where you're too old and you're too slow to play the real thing, so you become the manager.
Wow. I don't play football games anymore. Like, really, I mean, the most I've played is because I got it recently from the Evercade, but it's not technically a Evercade, it's a Hyper Megatech. My Taito Edition Super Pocket from Hyper Megatech has got Football Champion. So that's the most I've played a football game, I think. I can't remember. I'm looking for a game that I can't remember the name of, which is, always a problem.
Test me. I usually get these.
It is a recent-ish football game designed by somebody who knows nothing about football.
Is it the Kickmen?
It is.
See, I told you I'm fucking good at these.
You are great at these. Behold the Kickmen.
Behold the Kickmen.
Absolutely brilliant game. It is genuinely, absolutely fantastic. It's stupid and it makes no sense, and you'll beat it in 1 or 2 sittings.
But it's intentional though, isn't it?
Yes.
It has fun with it. Just to read it off of Steam, Behold the Kickmen is a football game made by someone who has no understanding of or interest in what is affectionately known as the wonderful game.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and thinking, that looks great fun.
It is brilliant. What's it go for?
It's like £3.
Yeah, honestly, everyone listening, grab it, play it. It's brilliant fun. It'll keep you entertained. I've played it for 6 hours total, and I have all of the achievements.
All 5 of them.
8.
This is a quality list of achievements. Do a goal, actually play the tutorial, win a game, get a player sent off, pull off a perfect tackle, fully upgrade your skills, score a 3-pointer, and then the achievement is called Spirit of 65. And it's win the World Cup.
And I forget the name of the guy who designed it. I'm going to find that out because he does really cool games. Dan Marshall. So yes, the guy who made it is called Dan Marshall. He sort of broke through as an indie developer with a couple of point-and-click games.
It's one of those Ben there, Dan that.
Ben there, Dan that, exactly, yeah.
I know the name, never played it.
I played it very briefly. I find point-and-click games very difficult when they're not Broken Sword. I don't know why. I just do. I don't think they're making football games that I'm going to enjoy anymore. I don't think those games exist.
That's a big part of the problem, isn't it? You've got things like Pro Evolution and FIFA. Nobody else makes anything.
No.
Because why would you?
Yeah, well, you can't compete.
You've got games like American football and baseball, ice hockey, where you've got EA will make their game, 2K will make their game, and nobody else bothers.
No.
Because that's it. Those two are covering it, and you'll pick one of those two. And there's no reason to make another one. There's no point putting in the effort to make another one. So unless it's something niche and funny and indie, like Behold the Kickmen,
yes,
why would you make a football game?
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely the case. I think that the market has become so restricted that you've got to be. Maybe there are out there indie football games that we're not seeing and playing, but I mean that's unfortunately again it comes back to the problem of Steam and all that, where the popular games get more popular.
Well, that's one of the reasons for making a podcast, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, you put it out there. Like, yeah, we've played this game. We really like it. The modern offering is one or the other. It's Labour or Tory.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you vote for? Red or blue? Coke or Pepsi? Yeah. The idiot on the left or the idiot on the right? Which one of these two choices that are exactly the same would you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
8 out of 10 cats said their owners preferred them. All that bullshit. Yeah, if you know of something, tell us.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
If there is a good football game out there that we've never heard of that you think we should know, tell us. Let us know.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe. So, we've been picking the next game before we're doing cocktails, and I think
Oh, yeah.
We might continue that.
Oh, it's your choice.
Is it my choice? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, well, Football Champ was my choice, so I'm pretty sure it's your choice.
Yes, that makes absolute sense.
Unless you want me to do two. We haven't had many role-playing games yet. There's a Final Fantasy game. Pick one of them. I mean, if you don't want to go for 7, we could do 10 or 13. 8 is the best one.
It did cross my mind the other day to do a Vagrant Story, but I'd have to go back and play it.
Oh, fucking love Vagrant Story. A driving game might not be a bad shout.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead you down a path you don't want to go down, but...
Okay. I've prepped my mate Chris, so let's do Toka.
Oh, okay. Excellent. You're going to get him on?
We'll get a guest presenter.
Right.
Will be a triple header.
Okay. A threesome.
So I said a triple header, Dave.
Yeah, that's no better or worse. A menage a trois. Can
we stop it now? Because he won't turn up. I prepped him because he messaged a little while ago and said he's listening and he's a fan. He really likes it, and I really appreciate his feedback. And he's the reason we're here doing this, really.
Yeah.
No, so I tapped him up and I said we're thinking about doing Toka soon. Do you want to come on as a special guest host? And he was all over it. So let's do Toka. We'll probably again almost have to creep outside our designated area of retro, but because there were only 3 games on the PlayStation. And there were 3 more on the PlayStation 2. And then they turned into Dirt. No, not Dirt. Grid. Yeah, so they go a long way, but there's only 3 that fit in our window. So that leads us neatly on to alcohol. What 2 things go better than football and alcohol?
Someone said those 2 should never mix. Have you ever worked as a steward at a football game?
No, never will. Luckily enough, I made better.
Neither have I. I never fucking would.
Yeah, I was about to say I've made better life choices than that as I sit here unemployed. We're going to go back to you going first again. Because previously, before we started, I guessed what your drink was going to be and wrote it down on a piece of paper.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hold up the piece of paper that you think has my cocktail written on it. Fucking hell. So because we're not a visual format, I have to explain that Andy is holding up a piece of scrawled, I can only describe it as, paper, that says yellow card, which is not correct.
Oh. Written on the back of my P45. That happens.
Yeah, you can always burn it if you run out of coal.
There is a cocktail called the Yellow Card, which will be quite apt, but I didn't have the ingredients to make, and I promised that from now on I'm going to try all the cocktails that I choose on this. So.
Oh, okay.
Also, it didn't sound that nice.
I intend to drink this cocktail.
As always.
Because I think I mentioned it to you before, but I'm going to run a cocktail bar at an event a year from now. And I've decided that because of the archery theme for the archery event, it's a bit of a no-brainer, I'm going to go very much down the order of the colours. So, like yellow, red, blue, black, white. And I'm going to make a cocktail for each of those 5, and I think that's a good way to sort of make the menu limited.
Nice, yeah.
And this is a glorious blue on Difford's. So, I haven't gone for the yellow card. I've gone for the 3 Lions.
I saw this one as well.
In brackets on the shirt.
On the shirt, yeah.
Because, as we've mentioned on the lead into this episode, but not actually during the rest of this episode, England are, at time of recording, 24 hours away from either being heartbroken or never, ever, ever shutting up about the time we won the Euros in 2024. Because it's one of those two, isn't it? We'll either never shut up about winning it, or we'll never shut up about losing it.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, sorry to interrupt again, but if we don't win something soon, it's going to be as long between the 1966 World Cup and 3 Lions on a shirt coming out as it is between now and 3 Lions on a shirt coming out. That song will be as old as us winning the World Cup when that song came out. It's not far away, it really isn't. Interestingly, this will be going out after the event.
It will. So we have the perfect opportunity right now to, let's say, from this moment on, we won it and we're really, really happy. And then we'll record the whole next section as if we're depressed and hateful. No, fuck it. It is what it is. My life is not dictated by whether or not a football team win a fucking competition.
No.
Or I wouldn't be a West Ham fan.
What is on a 3 Lions on this shirt, Dave?
Well, you take a Nicanora glass.
Your favourite.
As is traditional for my cocktails.
Stop it.
And you instantly ruin it by putting in 30 millilitres of gin.
Right.
Follow that up with 15 millilitres of blue Curaçao, which is where the colour clearly comes from.
Yeah.
10 millilitres of orange Curaçao, which I would have thought would change the colour quite significantly.
Make it green, wouldn't you? But I guess not.
Well, yeah. I'm curious to make this myself just because of that.
Yeah.
Because the blue Curaçao turns everything you put it in.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be the only reason for putting it in anything.
Yeah. I wonder if the orange is not necessarily a colour thing and more a flavour.
Maybe.
Potentially. I'd have to get some just to find out.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever... Well, no, I've probably had it in a cocktail and not known.
I literally thought Curaçao was blue. That was it. So here's 7.5 ml of Grand Marnier, 7.5 ml of lemon juice, a dash of orange bitters, and 3 drops of saline solution, or half a pinch of salt.
Sounds very citrusy.
Well, I don't know, because you've got gin, Curaçao, orange, lemon, orange bitters. It's weird to have an orange liqueur, quite a bit of lemon juice, and then orange bitters.
But a bitters isn't particularly... It's about adding depth rather than adding really sort of orangey flavour. Making it a bit more well-rounded. I was going to say sophisticated, but that's a wanky thing to say, but just sort of making it less like a...
There's nothing sophisticated about a cocktail called 3 Lines on the shirt.
mean, that drink's only because it's gin and citrus and quite similar. Your drink, I mean, I say quite similar. It probably tastes completely different, but the ingredients. There's a really nice cocktail called the Bee's Knees, which is gin and orange and lemon juice.
Okay.
And with a bit of honey in it, hence the name. And hence also it not being that similar to yours. But that's what I was thinking of, which is a lovely cocktail. And I think gin just goes quite nicely with citrus flavours, just as a general thing. So
a bit more of a sort of sweet, zesty.
It's quite perfumey, and I think they're kind of the citrus bounces off that quite nice. Sounds like a nice cocktail. Maybe it's raspberry flavoured because everyone knows raspberries are blue.
What?
Slush puppies. For some reason, raspberry flavoured slush puppies are blue.
Okay.
Because I don't know. Why raspberry blue?
Jesus Christ. Is that what you actually typed?
Yep.
Why raspberry blue?
Oh shit.
Is it because it's blue?
It's because of cancer.
Probably shouldn't laugh at that. Because of cancer?
Raspberry Pops originally used a dark red dye, but it was later banned by the FDA as a possible carcinogen.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Informing and entertaining.
This is what
every
we do.
other week on Cocktail Mode. So what did you pick for your cocktail?
I had one of my situations where I couldn't find anything I liked the sound of. I didn't even get to the point where there's something I liked the sound of that I couldn't make. I just didn't like the sound of anything. I found the yellow card, but it's got pineapple in it, which I'm not a big fan of.
What's wrong with pineapple?
I don't really like it in drinks.
Really?
Yeah, I love fresh pineapple. Love it. And it's one of those things that you don't have often enough in your life, isn't it? And when you do, you go, my God, I want to eat this more.
Yeah, it's delicious.
But I don't like it in drinks. Annoyingly, there was somebody, there's a website that's got a drink called a red card. And that actually sounds like it might be nicer. But it's a dead website and there's no proportions on there. There's no measures. But that's rum, sweet vermouth, and Angostura bitters. I like rum.
There's not a lot going on there, is there?
There's not, no, but it does sound like it might be quite nice.
You might as well call that red rum.
But anyway, I can't tell you what those proportions are. If you want to play them and find out, who knows? It sounds like that's probably something else anyway. It's quite a basic set of ingredients. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another drink that's got the same. What I ended up going with is one of my kind of, one of my Pac-Man choices.
What, no one's ever going to hear it?
No, Pac-Man won't be able to bear listening to, but please, if you did, thank you for putting up with that shit show. Our very first ever episode that we tried to do, and it was a technical disaster. I think it's probably the kindest way to put it. But I paired Pac-Man with a daiquiri because of the classic nature of both drinks, and that, a bit to do with the colour and a bit to do with so that's what I did. So I've chosen the old-fashioned, like one of the classic cocktails, right? And there are billions of different versions of the old-fashioned. There are some quite fun ones. There is one I couldn't make that I think, in keeping with the football theme and the England at the Euros, which is now in the past as you're listening to this, but is tomorrow. There was one called the Optimist Old-Fashioned, which I love but couldn't make, so I couldn't try it. But a brilliant name. But I just think the old-fashioned, the reason I went for the old-fashioned is just because it's called the old-fashioned. And as we spoke quite serendipitously, because I didn't plan it that way, these sort of games, like Football Champ, just don't exist anymore.
No.
The arcade football experience, and we're now living in a world where football comes in two flavours, FIFA or e-football, or is it e-soccer, whatever it's called, the economy shit show, whatever esports is doing, which is completely different, a very different world of video games to what we do here on Cocktail Mode. They seem very old-fashioned. This idea that a football game is fun and silly and has super moves and doesn't exist anymore. Fun has gone out of the football game, unfortunately, so it does make these games seem particularly old-fashioned. And I know it's a full-on pun, but also the old-fashioned is like one of the great classic original cocktails. An old-fashioned, in its purest form, is bourbon, sugar syrup, and Angostura bitters. And that's it. Obviously, the quality of your bourbon needs to be pretty good. Because don't get me wrong, if you made an old-fashioned with some Jack Daniels, it'd be nice. It'd be alright. It would be nicer than just a neat Jack Daniels. But it wouldn't really taste like an old-fashioned. And this is all sort of going down a very different route to Football Champ, because it gets into the sort of sophisticated world of mixology and doing things properly. And it's, you know, when you've been made a nice old-fashioned, because you'll have a barman there who is stirring your old-fashioned over a single piece of ice for a good amount of time. And it's one of those cocktails that's all about the making of. If you have one at home, you can make it nicely for yourself, but it's much, much better to have someone else do it for you. And so in its actuality, fuck all to do with Football Champ. Right?
That's our job, is to link the two.
It's called the Old Fashioned. The game is Old Fashioned. I did a name thing. My only other option I had, my second choice for a drink to go with Football Champ was a pint of Kronenberg.
I was thinking of doing that. I was thinking of saying that Football Champ is not like you did with Tony Hawk.
Absolutely.
You made fucking, what was it, Jaeger bomb.
Yeah.
I was almost tempted to do Football Champ isn't a cocktail, it's a pint of carling.
Yeah. I think there's something in that. Well, and I think perhaps I'll leave that up to you, dear listener, to choose whether you want to go with Old Fashioned, one of the great cocktails, or a pint of shit lager. Because either, I think, represents what Football Champ represents. I think the era of Football Champ, particularly with the free arcade versions, the last one being 95. If you have the misfortune of being English like Dave and myself, 1996 will live long in your memory until hopefully tomorrow, when the memory gets eclipsed by England triumphing over the far superior Spain to win the Euros. So yeah, choose your poison. Either have an old fashioned or have a pint of Kronenberg.
Can
of Kronenberg, yeah. So next time out on Cocktail Mode, we're going to be doing the Toka games, primarily on the PS1, but we'll probably venture into the later versions and spin-offs thereof. And we're going to have a special guest presenter along with us, my mate Chris, who gave me the idea of doing a podcast in the first place, and is a big touring car fan. He's done podcasts about that before and watched it back in the day, and he's done podcasts about that era as well. So I think it's going to be a nice little addition to the show. Dave's never met him or spoke to him before. They may hate each other, so that'll be fun. Turn up and listen to that.
Oh, I love the idea that we don't like each other. That's brilliant. This could be the last episode I ever do.
So yeah, that'll be next time on Cocktail Mode, the podcast where gaming, like alcohol, is in our blood.